tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests, Lisa Bowman and Shari Robins, are in the studio waiting to be profiled. Lisa Bowman is a multifaceted talent. She's a singer, a dancer, an actress, and a radio personality. She's worked on stage with the legendary Sammy Cahn, Broadway superstar Gordon McRae, and the talented Florence Henderson, not to mention Robert Merrill. She's worked on TV both as an actress and as a commentator. Lisa's had a talk show. She loves cabaret and small clubs. Let's start at the beginning, Lisa. How did this all happen?
You're saying I can't keep a job, aren't you? Well, I've always been a performer. At the age of 9, the Bolshoi Ballet came to the San Francisco East Bay area, and they were looking for some local children to be in a ballet called ballet school. And they hired 20 young local girls, and I was the biggest of the 10 little girls, and we did 3 performances with the Bolshoi Ballet. That was it. From there on, it was community theater. I mean, I never stopped performing.
So you're from San Francisco?
The East Bay area,
and
yes.
Did you go to school up there?
No, I came to Los Angeles to go to school at Occidental and UCLA.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens is you had to have been in ballet school for them to find you.
Forever, yes.
Yes.
I have the bad feet and bad knees to prove it now, yes.
So that's how they found you.
Yes.
And when you started your career, did you go to acting school?
I was sort of like Deanna Morales in A Chorus Line, who sings, "And I felt nothing," because it never really worked for me. Most of my acting skills have come from just working. It seemed to work better for me. And now my acting is mainly used in the cabaret singing, which it has a heavy weight towards acting.
But did you take singing lessons?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes, all the way through college and beyond. And yes, I used to sing a little opera even.
Where did you study?
Well, no big names, just whatever teacher was there locally, yes.
But you have a natural talent, so I think it was probably easy for them.
I had a grown-up voice by 6th grade.
Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
You had this voice?
I had a woman's singing voice by the 6th grade, yeah.
Well, one thing is, it took you not only on musical theater, but it took you on to talk radio.
Figure that one out, huh?
Yeah, we have so many things to cover.
I know. We'll try to gloss over all of them.
Right.
Well, I actually remember sort of the epiphany. I had just finished a stint as the Fonz's girlfriend on Happy Days. And I was leaving the Paramount lot, and it was a guest starring role, and I kept thinking to myself I should feel elated, but somehow I don't. Well, why is that? Well, part of it I've come to understand is that television acting is not as much fun to me as stage acting. Also, I very much wanted to have a baby.
Oh, right.
I became pregnant 6 months after I had our son Stephen. KABC Talk Radio in Los Angeles was looking for a female sportscaster.
Did you know about sports? I go, how? Did you know about sports?
Not specifically, no. I certainly was comfortable immediately with a radio microphone. That was no problem, and I like to think that I'm bright. I loved sports, but no, even to this day, I'm not a walking encyclopedia of sports trivia.
But you did television commentary too, which
boxing. I was color commentary and boxing for Donny Osmond's production company.
It necessarily didn't have to have you on camera, but it had to have you talking.
Some was on camera. I also did for, which network was it? Well, I don't remember now, but with Robert Conrad, a Stroh's Circle of Sports for Don Ohlmeyer that was on camera. I did stuff for several of the local TV stations here on camera. I like talking to people. I like athletes. So for me to interview an athlete was a natural.
But is it different using your ad lib, because it has to be ad lib, than when you're on stage with a scripted type of thing?
Yes, but for some reason I'm very comfortable just being myself. So that wasn't a really big problem, although there were a few times on KABC Talk Radio. My co-hosts were Bud Furillo and Tommy Hawkins, who of course played for the Lakers, and where I'd run out of something to say, and I'd turn to Tommy and say, well, Tommy, what do you think?
But see, were you prepared to do that kind of thing, or does it just come naturally?
Knowledge-wise, I crammed.
That's
24
what I
hours a
wondered.
day. Oh, I studied. I love to study. I love to research. So I would read 5 newspapers a day. I would watch everything I could. Now remember, I still had a small baby at home. So I was torn in a lot of different directions and eventually became too much, and that's why I left.
Were you still singing, or were
No, I dropped all of that.
One thing is one thing is
For
one
about
thing.
12 years, I pretty much dropped acting and singing.
I see. So our big break came when we were leaving the Paramount lot for talk radio.
Yes.
Where did the big stage break come from?
That goes back before that because, well, what would be the biggest break? The show that meant the most to me was a chorus line at the Shubert Theater here in Los Angeles.
Oh, you did that here?
The first national company. I replaced the original Kay Cole, who played Maggie, and got to do it with most of the originals. Went with the show to Chicago, and then later on did a production in Hawaii as well.
Did you take your baby with you? Oh, you didn't have your
No,
oh.
no. My husband saw me in the show. That's how we met.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, yes.
Oh, how great.
Oh, yes.
So what did Maggie say on stage?
Maggie's the one who sings at the ballet.
Oh, so that was perfect for you.
It was wonderful.
You just identified with
I
it
did,
from
and
the
I just got to
beginning.
do. I just got to do the number again with the people that I did it with all those years ago at a benefit here in Los Angeles for LA Shanti, and they brought back a lot of the originals, and the 3 of us were there, and we got to do it again.
You worked
We
together
sang,
before?
yes, yes. From all those years ago, we got to do our number again. It was like, oh.
Can you still dance? Can you still sing? Can you
I
still
thought,
move?
well, yes, I can. Now I'm singing a lot. So yes, I'm singing better than ever. The dancing I wasn't sure of because I haven't had class in about 20 years. But I do the martial arts several times a week. Well, really more like 5 times a week. So I was in shape, and there's muscle memory.
It's so different, though, because I go to ballet class every morning with Tanya Lachine,
Yes.
you know, one of the baby
Yes.
ballerinas. And if you don't go for 2 or 3 weeks, muscle remembering?
Yes,
Hello?
I know. Ballet uses a whole different set of muscles. It uses a lot of inside, underneath muscles that gross sports, gross movements don't use. It's a very refined sense of movement.
So when you're on a treadmill, it's not the same.
It's not the same. No, not at all.
Doesn't help. You
I
have to
faked it. I
stretch.
admit it.
But you talk about singing, and I know you've been all around. Oh, you've sung a lot in LA cabaret.
Yes.
And you've, I guess, nationwide.
The cabaret is a relatively new venture. It's only a couple years old because I had been away from it for so long. I thought, well, how does one start this?
Well, why would you go into cabaret instead of trying to go back on the stage in a musical?
Very simply, my son has not graduated from high school yet.
Oh, I see. So it's
And
easier.
I have 1 more year with him, and I never wanted to miss a moment of motherhood.
It's
And,
so true.
yeah, that was why I left everything. How can you replace that?
But your voice just keeps getting stronger, is that?
I thought it had fallen apart, frankly. When I first came back, I lost 6 notes off the top and gained 8 at the bottom.
Oh.
What's going on here?
Does that actually happen?
It seems to, although as I'm cleaning up my act, technically I'm beginning to get it back. So maybe it's just a matter of disuse.
and yeah.
But the voice is different. It's much richer at the bottom.
So tell us about cabaret. What kind of an act do you do?
Cabaret is very specialized, and it turns out I love it. Because again, remember I said I like being myself. Well, in cabaret, it's not like recital where you're there to sing the songs. It's about you. It's about the performer, and the audience gets to know you. So you tell anecdotes from your own life.
Totally,
right?
yes.
I only do songs that really have personal meaning or that relate to something in my life. And when I'm singing them, therefore I'm singing about something about my life. It's small audiences, so I can relate directly to the people.
It seems like cabaret is personal.
Very intimate.
Intimate, because
vulnerable.
It's a small room, right?
Yes.
Usually a small room.
Yeah.
And it always, I've gone to a lot of cabaret, but I always look for what is it, and it's that they're talking to the audience.
Yes.
Or they're telling you their story.
Just telling you.
It's nothing that you can go out singing again, usually.
Not usually, unless the song is real familiar, but yes. Now, my son, when he saw me at the benefit, of course, he didn't see me do chorus line, obviously.
Oh.
And at the ballet is very different from anything cabaret. And he said, Mom, I've never heard that voice. I've never seen that persona, because it's a totally different energy.
Oh, he's only seen cabaret?
He's only seen my cabaret,
see.
never seen me sing on stage. And it is very different.
I see.
But I love it, I love it. And now I'm into producing cabaret.
So, producing, you would get people to come on and do the act.
And I'm also one of the performers.
Well, of course.
I'm no fool.
Producer, middle act.
She does it all.
Right.
No, there's a friend of mine, Samantha Samuels, who is a wonderful international cabaret singer, and she lives in the Bay Area. There's a great theater complex up there, the Regional Center for the Arts, and they have 3 theaters there. We have put together a stable of singers, Craig Jessup from San Francisco, she of course from the Bay Area, and myself and Reese Holland from down here in LA. And we are going up and doing a whole cabaret season up there.
When you do the cabaret, do you tell them what to do?
No.
Producing it?
No, not at all. I wouldn't dream of it. No, we just get them the venue. I wouldn't hire anybody that I didn't trust.
And then what about you? When you write your show, do you write it yourself or does someone come in and work with you?
I tried having somebody write it and it didn't work for me. Maybe
Really?
maybe someday I'll find somebody that does reach into me and pull out my guts. My musical director, David Snyder, though, knows me musically intimately, and he will often say to me, you know, this isn't working, this is... So in a way he is
Does he
directing
play
me.
the piano?
Yes, he arranges, he
So
helps
he-
me, everything.
So he goes on stage with you?
Oh yes, he's very much involved in the act as well.
And so he could help you as far as getting material. I'm always wondering where you get the material.
I'm always looking for material. People are sending me, and I've used a lot of stuff. I got turned on to the New York composer John Wolowitz through a friend. I had never heard his work, and I use several of his songs in my act now. I like a mixture of the standards. I like people to hear what they know, and then I like to pull in the new things.
And it works with the piano. You don't need more than one piece.
Sometimes I bring in my last act at the Cinegrill. I had piano, bass, drums, and a woodwind who doubled about 4 instruments. So we had quite a setup.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
But that's not typical cabaret, is it?
No, this summer will be just piano and sing. It's really all you need. It's just fun to have the other instruments, to have the other colors.
You made a CD.
Yes, with David Snyder.
Oh, David Snyder
Yes, he
did
produced
this.
it for
Tell
me.
us a little bit about this.
It was my first CD, and recording was a very different thing for me. Very different from live stuff, but David did fabulous arrangements of, gosh, what do we
What's
have
on
on there?
there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me look.
tell me what's on
Well,
there.
we have here, how long has this been going on? We did a medley of Autumn and Autumn Leaves. We turned Misty into a jazz waltz, which was a lot of fun. This one, stuff like that there. Do you remember, I think Betty Hutton may have originally introduced it way back when, but Bette Midler did it in For the Boys.
How does it go?
I want some hissing and some hugging and some stuff like that there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we did that one, which was great fun, and I had the composers, Livingston and Evans, come to my show.
Oh,
so
yeah.
lots of Don Juan from Smokey Joe's Cafe, Never Never Land from Peter Pan. As time goes by.
So it must have been, for how long does it take you to make a CD?
We did kind of a rush job, and even then it was several months.
Was it?
Yes, yes. A lot of arranging.
This only took a few minutes to do today. And one thing I wanted our audience to know is that you were the first female president of the
Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association.
Yes, I think we should leave on a high note like that.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank you.
for being the first, and thanks for being with us for the first part of our show, Lisa Bowman, and we'll be right back with Shari Robins. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with chef Shari Lynn Robins. Shari was born in Scarsdale, New York, where at the age of 7, she won her first baking contest. And at the age of 13, she started her own catering business. This early career led to a degree in hotel and restaurant management from the University of Denver. And then in 1989, she received honors when she graduated from the Culinary Institute of America in New York, Hyde Park, I think. You never wavered from the age of 7, Shari.
No, not at all.
That is so amazing, isn't it?
I think it's amazing. People always said to me, you should be a chef. When I had my catering business, I was making sandwiches and salads for my mom's beauty salon. That was my catering business. So I would go every Saturday and I'd bring a little cart with sandwiches wrapped in ribbons. I'd bring like tuna fish and little salami sandwiches, and all the ladies there would say, you should go to cooking school, you should be a chef. So
did you mix the tuna and make it in the egg salad?
Everything. And my mom would help me in the sense I couldn't drive when I was 13, but she would drive me, and I'd get different breads from the different delis, and I knew all the guys at all the stores, and I would make my own tuna, and it got more advanced as the years went by, where I was making quiches and mushu pork in an electric frying pan, and I would parade into this.
At 13, 14?
At this beauty salon, yeah.
That's
with
so
all my
great.
stuff. So that was my first gig.
So were you reading cookbooks? How were you learning how to
my
do
mom
this?
cooked. I had a housekeeper growing up who was a great cook, and my mom cooked. They took a cooking class at the Four Seasons restaurant in New York together.
You're kidding. So
I was making bordelaise sauce. I was probably about 11, and we always baked and did stuff in our house, and we like to cook. So
how did you enter a baking contest at the age of 7? Could you go near the
It was
stove?
a Girl Scout thing. No, you know what?
that's-
There was a picture of me, and I'm on a step ladder with a babushka on, and my overalls, and I'm stirring like the pot. So my housekeeper had this recipe for a sour cream pound cake that was really wonderful. So
That was your cake recipe?
that was a cake recipe. So that was my cake recipe. It was a Girl Scout bake-off, and the janitors in the school were the judges for the bake-off. In
So
third
great.
grade. So I won, and I went to the county, the county competition after that, and went on and went to the state thing through the Girl Scouts or whatever.
Oh, so
I wasn't even a Girl Scout that long, so it was kind of funny that I got involved there and baked this cake. It was sour cream pound cake.
Same cake? You kept baking and winning?
Yeah.
Is that what you
I still
do?
make that cake now, too. It's a great cake.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, here you went, after you really were experienced,
Yes.
you went to college and then you went to Culinary
Yes.
Institute. Well, then how do you get a job after that? How does a chef get a job?
Well, I got lucky while I was in school. Playboy magazine, oddly enough, publishes the 40 best restaurants in the country every year, or they used to do this. I don't know if they do it anymore. And I literally went through it and pointed, and I said, that's where I want to work, and it was Jams. And so, with Jonathan Waxman, so I went down, I drove into the city, and I actually showed up there, and they weren't expecting me or something. And they said, well, why don't you make a family meal for everybody? Because I'd already come, I was dressed, ready to go, and that's what I did. I made a shiitake mushroom risotto for them for their family dinner, or the staff. We have a staff meal in a restaurant.
Staff dinner.
And they loved it, so I ended up getting the job as the extra in there. And through there, Jonathan and Larry are very good friends, so when I was graduating school, they have a job board, and I looked on the board, and it said he was there when he was looking for help. And when I went in, he recognized me from...
Larry Forgione.
Yeah, and he was just moving from his place on Lexington to Park Avenue South, so...
And he has the American Place.
Yeah, he's at a lot of places now.
He's at a lot of places,
No,
but that's
yeah.
what it was then,
Yes, yes.
right? Called the American Place,
That's
and it
right.
was one of the top
Yes.
restaurants in New York City.
Yes.
And he's one of the great chefs,
oh,
along
yeah.
with Jonathan Waxman.
Right.
But did you work at Gourmet as any kind
I
of
did,
assistant?
actually.
What was that?
It was supposed to be set up as a scholarship through Johnny Walker Black Label to work at Gourmet, but it came up on this job board again as a job. And so I went down, I met with Sarah Moulton, and I said, well, it's fortunate because I am scholarly and I could probably qualify for your scholarship. And so I ended up getting the job. I got along with Sarah very, rapidly. She's very, gregarious, as you know.
Was
so.
that before Jams?
No, it was right after that.
Oh,
so
it
I was, it was like the next summer. So she also knew Jonathan, and everybody kind of knew everybody.
I see.
And
Well,
so
you
I
were
worked with her.
lucky.
I've been lucky. Yes.
I mean, I think, not that you're not a good chef, but you've been
No.
lucky, and I
And
think that you have to have the luck that goes along with
That's right,
it.
and a good foundation, I think. helps.
When you went to American Place, I think your resume says you were a guard manager. What
Garde
does that
manger
mean?
is what we say,
Oh,
and it's the
garde
French term for garde
manger.
manger, which is part of the brigade system in the French kitchen. There's the poissonnier, the rôtisseur. Everybody has a duty in a French kitchen. So the term for it is the garde manger, the keeper of the cold foods, essentially.
Oh, I see. So was it garde manger?
Yes.
Spelled the same way as manager?
M-A-N-G, yeah.
I see. And then there are different mangers, right? Is
That's
that what
right.
you're saying?
Well, there's the garde manger, and then there's the chef de partie, which is the person that would be head of that department. So there could be a lot of little people working as garde manger, making salads and different things in a busy kitchen. And there's someone who's in charge, and they report to the chef, and the chef reports to them, and it's kind of like
But you were a garde partie as well.
right at Petrosian.
At Petrosian.
I had moved up there. I was like, I wanted to do French food. Then I had worked for all these great American chefs, and I wanted to get my feet wet with some French
So you
food,
left American Place and went to Petrosian, which was the caviar restaurant.
Oh yeah, and so it was fun. All the cold things there were pretty fun. Being in charge of the garde manger department, which is generally all the cold stuff, was the caviar and the foie gras and the smoked salmon and the smoked eel and all that wonderful stuff that they have. So.
Well, from 13 years old, you didn't know about that stuff, did you?
Not much. I mean, I think my mom, made things and made like a caviar mold, but I think she used that Romanoff stuff.
But that was different.
Where the black stuff leaks out all over everything. So.
But it was. You learned it in school, I guess, or do you learn it on the job?
You learn. I find that you learn most of the stuff on the job. I kind of would like to go back to school, and people always say this, and teach you the real life thing of how it really is.
Exactly.
I think it's quite different. There's a lot of pressure, and it's very different. You're not as pampered as, even though you're not really pampered at school, you're definitely more pampered than you are in a kitchen where people don't show up to work, or people are late, or everybody has their issues, and you just deal with that as a chef every day.
What do you do? Do you move into their
place? You do
place?
it, or you reorganize, and you're constantly putting out fires. I mean, even in the best kitchens, there's days where people have to have a family emergency, or they say they have a family emergency, or whatever it is. So I either jump in, or I juggle things, and now that I'm running James Beach and Canal Club, I have a bigger resource with people.
You mean more people?
And it's good, because if someone doesn't come or something happens, I can move someone from one place to the other, and it's not just a small group where you're really stuck and everybody else has to work harder is what happens. So
you just mentioned learning the real life, because you learn the real life when you're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Have you taught?
No, but I'd like to. I think I'd be a good teacher, because I think some of the stuff you learn in school is just not realistic. I feel like they should tell some of the students not to show up one day so the other ones can figure it out and serve that dining room.
But do they have guest chefs come in and teach at these schools?
Yeah, they do.
But they don't teach what you're talking, practical application.
It's hard for me to take off time from work to go teach these. I always marvel at these, these celebrity chefs. They have a lot of time to be able to go and teach a class and travel around, and I just don't have that kind of time to really do that. I'd like to, but it's just not possible.
You went from French cooking then to Barney's. Barney Greengrass?
I did a few different jobs in New York in the meantime.
Did you?
Yeah, I worked for a guy named Richard Krause, who had a restaurant in Melrose, who had worked for Wolfgang and came to New York. And I opened a place called Coffee Shop, which was a big, kind of an avant-garde nightclub Brazilian restaurant at Union Square, which really taught me high volume. I really, I always tried to take a job that would give me a skill that I could use later.
And that was high volume, 1,100 covers.
1,200 meals a day, 7 days a week, 23 hours a day.
How do you do that?
It was crazy. It's a real burnout. After I worked there for about a year and a half, and it's exhausting, and I had 37 cooks working for me.
But how can they feed that many people?
You just do. I mean, it's a big kitchen, and you figure out how to do it, and it's obviously not, the fine gourmet food. It was very good, and we did a lot of really great Brazilian dishes and stuff there, but do
you figure it out? Do you figure it out, or has someone else figured it out before you come in to work, or?
No, you figure it out. I mean, even at James Beach, it's a very small kitchen, and I work with what I think the limitations are. What can I do consistently, perfectly, every time, so that the customers are happy? So, I don't futz with the food too much, because I feel like we don't have time to make them all look that beautiful every time. So we have to do what we can do and make everybody happy at the same time. There's no point if people are unhappy doing what you want to do every time.
And make it taste good.
And make it taste good and look good and all those other things.
So you did do Barney's, which that must have been totally different. Sounds like a delicatessen type of thing.
It was, but it was another opening, and I was at that point in my career into going in. I liked the chaos and the challenge of solving all those problems and getting a place running, figuring out all the systems and startups and how it works, planning the menu. And I had worked for Eli Zabar briefly, which I don't think was in any of my info that I passed on to you, but I had had that experience. So when I applied for the job, they thought, oh great, she worked at EAT and she's going to totally know what we're trying to do here. And so that was pretty much how I got the job.
Was that Barney's in LA or New York?
Yeah, no, Barney's here in LA and Barney's department store, which was pretty upscale.
So did that bring you out to Los Angeles?
No, a job in San Diego did. My college friend was opening a restaurant, and she sent me pictures of the kitchen that overlooked the ocean, and I mean, I'm not joking that she sent it to me, and within a week, I own an apartment in New York. I found someone to rent it, and I moved.
You came to San Diego.
Yeah.
And then you came to LA.
Then I came to LA, yeah.
And so you did Barney's, you did Fusion.
I did
at
Fusion,
the
yes.
PDC.
And I worked with Bruce Martyr there and John Sedler, and which was I hadn't really worked for any LA chefs, so that was kind of good for me to get that little.
And those were both startups.
Yep.
So there you were, solving these problems.
Again.
Then you went to James Beach.
Which was a startup also.
Which was
And Bruce Martyr recommended me for the job there, so
I see.
that's how I got that job through James and Daniel.
So once you got there, what kind of menu? Wait,
They told me what they were looking for, and I got what it was they were talking about. It has to be a good marriage when you go into a place, you know. I mean, and they were saying they wanted to open the modern day Musso and Frank's, basically. So they were saying we want people to feel comfortable, and we want them to feel like it's their home away from home. So, you know, you cook for people, you do an audition. It's like an actress. You go in and cook a dinner, and that you hope they like it, and yeah.
Well, you cooked something for us today.
Yeah, I did. I
before
brought
we
fried
finished.
chicken.
All right, tell us about the fried chicken.
The fried chicken is the Thursday night special, so each night of the week, and
Right.
today, you know. So I brought that. So.
But where'd the recipe come from?
My housekeeper, who was from Florida, she used to make fried chicken, and she would shake it in a paper bag. She would put like flour and paprika and garlic all in a paper bag. She said that was very important to the.
And then what? You might as well tell us about it, because look how great it looks.
And it's delicious, and it's been on our menu since we've opened. I mean, people would have a riot if we got rid of it. What we do is, initially the recipe that I was taught was that you really just dust it, and you know, you wash the chicken, pat it dry, dust it in the flour. I felt that wasn't, the first time I made it at the restaurant, it didn't really hold up as well as I would have liked it to, so I decided to dip it in milk.
Did she teach you that?
No, I just kind of did that part myself, because I just was doing it her way, and I felt like by the time the people got it, it wasn't reading how I wanted it to. It didn't have enough crispy outside. And you know, people use cornmeal. I mean, everybody has their thing. This is just basically a little, you know, dip it in milk, and you don't want it to soak in the milk too long, and then you dip it in the flour and you fry it.
Fry it in what?
Oh, I fry it in beef shortening.
So there are a lot of little secrets that you have to know.
Well, if you let it sit in the milk too long, it starts absorbing the liquid, and then the flour doesn't stick very well. So when you drop it in the fryer, it'll end up kind of falling off.
So you really, I mean, even frying chicken is an art with you.
I think so, yeah.
You have all the art,
You have to figure out,
Shari.
you want it to look good, and you want it to taste good, so.
So we're going to taste it as
Yeah.
soon as we go off the air. We're not going to eat on the air. But thank you so much for
Thank you very
coming
much.
today. It was so interesting.
Well, it was nice to come
Thanks a
on.
lot.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles today. Keep writing us your letters at 777 South Figueroa, Los Angeles 90017, 40th floor. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.